blur, and based off of how I solved that problem visually, Bart was able to solve it in code, and I was really thrilled with the way it turned out. And it's just such a simple solution. Did you have?
Yeah, well, the nice thing about all of these little art prototypes is that they're very direct. You know, we were always struggling to try to make movement and combat look good in the actual prototype itself, in the game that we are playing every day. And there's just this big bottleneck because there's all this code, some of the code that's currently being used, some of this old code needs to get thrown out, and stuff needs to get changed. And if Dorian wants to try something out, you know, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some programmer time to get to the point where we can see it play in the game. But really, all we need is, you know, being able to see Dorian's what's in Dorian's mind. I mean, that's the best bet. And, you know, unfortunately, he's the only one who knows that until he can actually get it to show up on a monitor. And trying to get it to show up within the game is just not the most efficient way to do it. You know, allowing him to basically mock up these sort of like fake game movies, you know, using Studio Max, was, you know, the fastest way to get there. You know, we're able to get there in a couple days, and the programmers could look at it and say like, okay, yeah, I can do this, and now I have a very specific target. You know, it was a really nice thing.
So based off that experience, I ended up doing that for just about any problem that we had. Like, you could see that air combat or boat combat was one of those things that happened a little bit later in the game development. So what it allowed me to do is, how would I like boats to move? You know, we had boats were moving just like tanks. And so I said, well, maybe I could show this to a programmer, and by seeing that, they could implement a few changes and get really cool boat motion. And we did the same for airplane motion, how do archers look, and chariots. And it really changed the entire way I look at what an artist is supposed to provide for a project. I share an office with a guy named Tom Simons, and he had started up sort of right from art school. He was an intern here from Maryland Institute, and he was just sort of excited to work on games, and he'd be willing to do whatever it took to get his art in. And as he would develop things, he worked on the border systems, he worked on rivers, he worked on certain building improvements, and I would see him drawing and saying, okay, this is what I plan on doing. And I'd always say, well, do you have an in-game version of that? Like, that looks really good. You know, your harbor looks great, but how's it going to look in the game? Or those borders look like a really good idea, but how does it actually look on the map? And so it was sort of this joke towards the end of the project where I kept getting to make these complex files so he could sell the idea. But the work that he did on the borders was great, because in a few hours he could show Soren something, and Soren could say either thumbs up or thumbs down, that's too square or that's too organic. And the whole idea of the borders flowing around the rivers came from, that was something that Tom could do in Photoshop that he didn't think programming could potentially do. But once Soren saw how organic the borders looked, he's like, I want that change. And I found that that was something that just excited me so much, where I can't, almost everything I do now, I try to think about how does it look in the game, and not to overthink my thoughts, and not to assume that people know what I'm thinking. I think that's the other thing, is I was doing the work that made sense to me, and I was sort of making sure that I was had a good set of animations. But I didn't know that other people didn't see that. You know, it was like the idea of, once I could show Soren what was in my head, he could agree or tell me to tweak something. But I realized that I need to put forth more effort to share everything I can with people. And that was really, for me, the whole point of sharing how we prototype. Because that's basically what we do from the top to the bottom, is get things from our head onto the computer screen as quick as possible.
So the real take-home point with all this prototyping, whether it's gameplay prototyping or art prototyping, is that, you know, now that the industry has gotten so big and so advanced, game development has become, you know, just this huge effort. You know, millions and millions of dollars, years and years of time. You know, the stakes are so high now that you want to get to your finished product as quickly as possible. And when I say finished product, that can mean literally just a certain gameplay experience or a certain art look. And if you can cut some corners to get to there right off the bat, you're going to be way ahead of everyone else. You know, that's going to be a big advantage, because, you know, you're going to know where you're going. You know, you're not going to have to put that stuff off. So, you know, the real points we like to emphasize here is that you know, you should iterate on fun when it's still cheap, early on in the project when you only have a few people working on it. It's very low cost. You can make a lot of important decisions early on, change your course, change direction, take some risks. You can do that while it's cheap. That's really the best time to do that. Finish your game before production starts. I mean, that may sound a little crazy, but before we had most of Civ 4 done from a gameplay point of view before we even had our 4th or 5th artists on the team, and it is possible to do that. And if you do that, you're going to be in great shape when production actually starts. And then finally, that art must reflect gameplay. That the gameplay is what people are there for. The art needs to not make that something that's fuzzy or difficult to understand or a little confusing. The art needs to support the gameplay, help people understand what's going on as opposed to just look good. Then of course you try to make it look good, but the first step is always to make people understand the game. So that sums up our presentation. Thank you for listening to us and hearing what our thoughts are about prototyping Civ 4. We want to thank all of our fans who've given us so much support over the years. I started out as a fan myself. I bought Civ 1, my first day of college, and when I just dreamed of joining a company like Firaxis to work on the Civilization series, seeing the fan communities grow over the years has been just a wonderful experience. And Civ 4 was a great product to work on because we were able to finally work closely with the fans. It was the first time that we were able to really sort of break down the wall and get them involved directly in the process. And I think a great deal of the success of Civ is owed to the fans. I mean, at this point, Civ doesn't belong to anyone anymore. It belongs to everyone. Everyone can have a say in Civ. Everyone gets to voice their opinion, and it's just it's a wonderful thing. It's something that we're really happy about. So we really want to thank the fans. Which is what makes Civ possible, what made Civ 2, Civ 3, and Civ 4 possible, and the future, of course.
And we also want to thank 2K Games just for giving us the chance to throw everything together that we possibly can. I don't think, I wish there were packages like this for games that I love as much as I love Civ. And I'm really looking forward, after we're done filming, I'm really looking forward to getting this and getting my Chronicles and really being able to archive it in my computer game collection. So I hope you just enjoy the whole deal and make sure to explore everything, because I know a lot of time and energy went behind making sure it was packed with lots of cool stuff for you.
So we hope you enjoy all 4 versions of Civ. A lot of sleepless nights ahead of you, so make sure you pace yourself, make sure you get you drink lots of water, take some time out, don't die in front of your computer, but enjoy Civ.